Presentation, I'll talk about two studies I've recently been involved with. One is about L2 writing development. The other is about effects of study abroad. I introduce them here because both methodologies are quite new to applied linguistics, but they are available because the first has been published and the second is popular outside the field. Both studies are co-authored. I worked on study 1 with 2 other applied linguists. For study 2, I have been working with 2 applied linguists and two economists. Through these 2 studies, I have learned the value of collaborations. For study 2, I'm especially learning the importance of collaboration outside my field, and I want to share my experiences with you today. But I was asked to talk as a researcher of L2 writing, so I will spend at least 70% of my time on my own research as an L2 writing researcher. Let's start with study 1. This is a collaborative work with Dr. Mizumoto of Kansai University and Dr. Murakami now at Birmingham University. Okay. My time is limited, so I'll focus on just one of the research questions. It is, how did 37 Japanese AFL university students develop in their use of the L2 writing strategy of L1 to L2 translation over 4 years? I want to focus on 3 innovative aspects of the study. First, I want to demonstrate how we investigated changes in students' use of L1 to L2 translation in their L2 writing at both the within individual and the between group levels across all participants. Doing both at the same time is often considered difficult. Second, I want to demonstrate how we examined within and between variation as it interacted with other explanatory factors such as L2 proficiency, L2 writing ability, and students' motivation. Third, I want to exemplify how the participants' retrospective email accounts were helpful in capturing what the quantitative results could not reveal. This third point relates to the value of mixed method research. Our participants were 37 Japanese EFL students who volunteered to participate. When the study started, they were all 18-year-old college freshmen majoring in British and American studies. The targeted L1 to L2 translation strategy consists of looking for a translation of a word or phrase conceptualized by participants in the L1 before expressing it in the L2. For example, when student 15 said, I was looking for an English word for seifuku or uniform in Japanese, when she explained what she was thinking about, when she paused during writing, this was counted as one case of L1 to L2 translation. We chose this strategy because it is one of the most often researched. I will now explain how I collected the data. Among 3 of us, I was the one responsible for the actual data collection. For each composition, I asked the participants to come to a quiet room and write a composition in about 30 minutes. With permission, I videotaped the entire session. Immediately after each participant finished writing, we watched the video showing the writing action. And every time they stopped writing for more than 3 seconds, I asked them to explain what they were thinking about at the time. With a colleague who is an L2 writing specialist, I coded the data into 21 strategies, and L1 to L2 translation is one of them. The data we used for this study were: 1, sum of listening and structure subject scores on the comprehensive English language test called CELT, maximum 200 points. 2, scores for argumentative composition, maximum 200 points. 3, participants' retrospective accounts of their L2 writing strategy use. 4, late fourth year interviews about why their use of L2 writing strategies changed in the way it did. I collected the students' CELT and composition scores in the first month of their first year in university and in the third month of their second, third, and fourth years. During the 8 months of their fourth year, I interviewed them about changes in the English proficiency, English ability, and writing strategy use. I will now explain the quantitative method of our study. We used mixed effects regression modeling. This has been increasingly used in L2 studies because mixed effects modeling is more flexible than many statistical analysis, such as repeated measure ANOVA. For example, mixed effects modeling can deal with non-normally distributed data or non-continuous data. It can also deal with both group means systematicity and individual variation, individuality. Since we focused on L1 to L2 translation, this was used as a dependent variable in the model. The data consisted of the frequency of L1 to L2 translation use among the 37 students over the 4 years. Our dependent variables were 1, time, first, second, third, fourth year in university. 2, study abroad, length of the study abroad experiences during the 4 years, 0, 1.5 months, 4 months, and 8 months. 4, action, whether the participants made extra efforts to improve their L2 writing ability each year, 0 or 1. 4, CELT, a 200 point maximum. 5, composition scores, sum of 2 raters, 200 points maximum. We modeled both between learner and within learner variation. This table shows the fixed effects part of the final model. We expected a complex model which would capture the dynamic development of L1 to L2 translation use over the 4 years. Instead, the model was very simple one, only including between learner difference in composition and CELT scores. This suggests that learners do not increase their L1 to L2 translation use over time, even with study abroad experience or any forms of motivation action. It also suggests that learners with higher composition scores are likely to use L1 to L2 translation more often, but if their proficiency is higher, they are less likely to do so. Very simple. This figure shows the observed and predicted trajectories of L1 to L2 translation use in the 37 learners over 4 years. Each square represents one individual's developmental trajectories. The figure also shows between learner composition and CELT scores, which were included in the final model. The darker circle represent higher L2 writing ability, and the lighter circles represent lower L2 writing ability. Circle size represent L2 proficiency. The larger, the higher. The broken line shows the observed frequency, and the solid line shows the predicted frequency based on the model. The lines are all flat because the time was not significant enough to be included in the final model. As I mentioned before, here you can see graphically how our analysis could capture individual differences in the participants' use of L1 to L2 translation as it interacted with L2 proficiency and L2 composition scores. Let's now turn to our qualitative analysis. This is related to my third focus, the value of mixed method research. As I said, the quantitative results indicate that 1, the participants did not change in their use of the L1 to L2 translation strategy over the 4 years. 2, learners with higher composition scores as well as those with lower proficiency were likely to use L1 to L2 translation. But this was observed only at the between level, not at the within level. As I said in result 1, even if the participants' L2 writing ability increased and their L2 proficiency decreased, they did not start to use this strategy more often within level. For the sake of time, let me just focus on result 1. We looked at the related interview data and identified 2 types of participants, type A and type B. Type A participants started with low L2 writing ability and L2 proficiency in their first year, and they used L1 to L2 translation frequently because they often could not come up with appropriate words to express their ideas. So as you can see in the column in red, the idea behind their use of L1 to L2 translation was simply to look for a Japanese equivalent for what they wanted to express. Over the 4 years, their L2 writing ability and L2 proficiency remained low, and they continued to use L1 to L2 translation very often until their 4th year. In contrast, type B participants started with low or high L2 writing ability and L2 proficiency, and also often used L1 to L2 translation, mainly for the same reason as type A participants. The difference between these 2 participant types was that type B participant improved either or both L2 writing ability and L2 proficiency. So type A participants started with a composition like this one and improved a little, but not much until the 4th year. Meanwhile, type B participants started in similar states, but by their 4th year, many of them could write a more coherent text with better content and organization like this one. And some of them, especially those who saw their L2 writing ability improved, often used L1 to L2 translation like type A participant, but for a different reason. The column in red shows type B participants who used this strategy often, but to seek the most appropriate words or phrase to express their meaning. For example, by choosing between advance or progress to express one idea. So in terms of frequency, their use of this strategy was similar in the 1st and the 4th year, as they use it often throughout, but their reasons were different in the 4th year. Importantly, these findings would not have emerged if we had not conducted qualitative analysis. If you would like to learn more about these results, please read the published paper. And in the paper, you can also obtain the information about the mixed effects modeling we used in the study. Now I'll briefly talk about study 2, which is ongoing. This is co-authored with Dr. Higuchi of Sophia University and Dr. Nakamura of Keio University, Dr. Rover of the University of Melbourne, and Dr. Yashima of Kansai University. As I said, we included 2 economists as central members. We have an opportunity to collect data through the Japanese government's flagship scholarship program called Tobitate Ryugaku Japan, which started in 2013 and has sent thousands of university and high school students to study abroad. We are investigating various contributions of this program. Today, I will focus on one variable, international posture. and demonstrate how we investigated the effects of study abroad on Japanese students' international posture, because the method has not often been used in applied linguistics. In the past, to investigate the effects of study abroad, we typically compared an at-home group and a study abroad group. But the at-home group usually had lower motivation than the study abroad group, and the effects of study abroad could not be properly investigated given the confounding factor of the motivation variables. Or we could compare the same group before and after study abroad, but there was no control group to be compared with a no-study abroad group. So we used a regression discontinuity design to overcome this problem. This design is based on the idea that people with scores just below the cutoff who did not receive study abroad scholarship are good comparisons with those just above the cutoff who did receive the scholarship if the aim is to study the effects of the scholarship over time, because they are similar otherwise. They are similar because they are usually screened from the already shortlisted group. This method is increasingly used in economics and political science, where random assignment of treatment is difficult. Our participants were 336 Japanese university students in Tobita, the 7th and 8th cohorts who won scholarship and studied abroad for 1 month to 2 years between July 2017 to October 2019. The study abroad or treatment group and 167 students who did not pass the scholarship exam as the at-home or control group. They were similar because they passed the same document screening just before. That also means that the two groups were similarly motivated too. Actually, they were selected from the larger population that were like 1,000 students before. In fact, the result of a statistical analysis showed that before they went abroad, the two groups were not only similar in international posture, but also in terms of age, gender, English proficiency, and household income. We used a total of 72 items to measure various constructs, but in order to measure international posture, we used the 4 most essential items. The original survey Tomoko Yashima created used a total of 26 items to measure international posture, but she herself examined items and cut them down to 4 based on the result of past validation studies in order to get as the best turnout rate for the long survey. We collected pre-study abroad data for the 7th cohort in July 2017, pre-study abroad data for the 8th cohort in January 2018, and post-study data for both cohorts in October 2019. Here are the post-study abroad results. There's a discontinuity in the cutoff scores, hopefully due to the effects of study abroad, as the students' international posture became significantly different over the period. These are the results in graph form. OLS or ordinary least square indicate the direct effects of the Tobita scholarship, and 2 SLS or two-stage least square, including the effects of overseas stays on those who received no scholarship but who went abroad anyway over the two years. These two figures indicate that overseas experiences had significant impacts on the students' international postures over the period. Let me briefly summarize and then conclude. First, collaborative action across areas brings new insights and methodologies. But if you go further and collaborate across disciplines, it brings you new opportunities along with cross-cultural experiences. For example, the two economists we are working with return emails within 3 hours for sure, always. I'm always amazed by the speed of their returned emails. I even send them emails and get their replies within few minutes. Really, truly amazing. Like before lunch, after lunch, they always return emails. But most amazing part is that they still manage to be fun people to work with. I would love to know their secrets. Anyway, I highly recommend both forms of collaboration. That's all I have to say for my presentation. Thank you for your attention. After this, I'll be happy to read, pick up, answer your question as long as time allows. Thank you. That's it.